And we are back this week. Sadly, but also happy. We are covering the final episode of season 34 of The Amazing Race. And of course, I cannot cover The Amazing Race without the amazing Brooke Camhi, the winner of season 29. Brooke, welcome back to the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. This is very bittersweet because, we talk all the time, but Amazing Race, bittersweet. But there's another season in the can, so that's good. So hopefully it won't take forever to get here. So we can focus now on episode 12, season 34 of The Amazing Race, and we can talk about who won, who didn't win, who fell short and why, and get through it.
Yes, let's get through all of it. But also a huge shout out to our YouTube comments. I think on the last episode, somebody commented on your Travelocity gnome.
They did? I didn't see that comment yet. I like to read them. I will respond. This is the gnome. Travelocity sent it to me after we won the race. I reached out and said hi, and they said, oh my God, and they sent it to me. And since I don't have a garden, because, New York City, it sits here on the bookshelf with The Amazing Race stuff. So
yes. And another thing they said in the comments, they were saying that we haven't seen the Travelocity gnome this season. Like normally,
no.
And normally they have to carry it around and do all of that stuff. So you're right, we haven't seen it. And
Expedia bought Travelocity. And so now Expedia is the sponsor. And
Expedia need a gnome. Expedia need a something.
They need something, a gecko, a gnome, some sort of object that
Look at that. We get the T. I didn't even think about that because it is they do the Travelocity app now. But can you imagine Lewis with the Travelocity gnome? He would be talking to the gnome and okay, the content that we need.
Maybe when I go down to Florida, I'll bring this guy with me just so we can get some content.
Oh my God, yes.
With the gnome. We should do that. We're going to do that.
No, we should freeze the gnome in ice.
No, he'll break the
yeah. Well, he would break the ice, not the gnome. But okay. But
you think he cares about he goes ham on that?
Well, that is true. That is true. When I meet whenever, because I feel first of all, I'm meeting Lewis and Michelle. I love my girl Michelle too. But listen, when I meet Lewis, I'm bringing a bag of ice. That I just
block of ice.
A block of ice.
He's in charge of icing our drinks.
You will definitely see a photo with Lewis, me, and some ice because we just love Lewis. But yes, see the final season, the final 3 teams. We got Emily and Molly, Lewis and Michelle, and Derek and Claire.
So let's for a second. So since this is the final episode, we talked for a second. They've been to Germany and Jordan and Italy and Iceland. And along the way, 9 out of the 12 teams fell by the wayside. You had Asta and Nina, who were very slow and steady, but they didn't win. You have Tim and Rex, who lost to the music. You have Rich and Dom, who proved that positivity it's just not enough. You had Linton and Sharik, who just didn't want to play anymore. You had Glenda and Lumumba, who fell in a ditch. Abby and Will, who got COVID. That's very sad to me. I hope they come back. They seem like genuinely good people. You had Quentin and Maddie, who just couldn't make up for lost time. Marcus and Michael, who... what did they do? The Picasso painting. They couldn't set up their Picasso painting. And then you had David and Aubrey, who couldn't keep their heads above water, if you will.
Sorry, we love David.
That was hard. And then you have the 3 remaining teams. You have long lost twins making up for lost time, Emily and Molly. You've got hyper competitive married couple who slaughter the ice and had so much fun, Lewis and Michelle. And then you had dating couple and reality romance, Derek and Claire, who raced smart and had their ups and downs, but constantly stayed upbeat. So these are your final 3 that we will talk about in the last leg. And there they are. So at the beginning of this leg, they go from Iceland to Nashville. Now, I don't remember them ever being in Nashville before. We don't see them travel, which I'm excited when they get commercial airlines back because that's the most dramatic part for me. I think that I enjoy seeing who's going to get on what flight and who's going to miss their flight and what flights are going to get delayed and who's going to lose their mind from getting delayed because they were supposed to get in first and now they're getting in 8th and they have to make up time. So you don't see any of that now, but that's okay. So you see them line up in Nashville and they rip their clue and they read their clues and they're off. Now, they don't seem to be moving particularly fast. The rule is you have to stand still to read your clue. But once you're finished reading, you're good to go. So I would have read this clue like my life depended on it. I don't know if they just sort of agreed, we'll read it slowly and then we'll all go like together, kumbaya style. But they're all outside the Jack Daniels distillery outside of Nashville, Tennessee. They read their clue, they start to jog. And there was an unaired task. They had to do some quick task where they had to identify a keg before going into the distillery. They didn't air it. On my season, we had to make a bunch of hot dogs and take them to Wrigley Field. They didn't air the hot dog making.
Oh.
I know. We did really well with the hot dog making, so I don't know why they didn't air it. So anyway, they have to do this task called Whiskey Business, very cute, where they have to label and pack 30 bottles of Tennessee whiskey, and they get their next clue. So on labeling, you have Claire, Michelle, and Emily. And on packing, you have Derek, Lewis, and Molly. So Claire's messy. Like, they have to like line up the labels perfectly. She's not. Like, none of her stuff is getting through. It's not getting accepted. Then you have Michelle, she's messy too, but she's staying very calm, and their partners are staying. Lewis is staying very supportive, where he's like, girl, you got this. Just pay attention. Derek is a little frantic, but still supportive. He's telling her, you have to line stuff up. None of your stuff's getting through. And then you have Emily, who has literally all of hers are going through. She's nailing it. Molly doesn't have to do anything because I think maybe they miss one. Like, all of them are going through perfectly. And so they get out of there first. So they're currently in first place, which is what they really need to be if they're going to win this thing with Emily's knee. So they're in first at this point.
How do you think you would have done with labeling?
Oh, I'm obsessive compulsive. I have OCD. It's a known fact. Everything is in its place always. There's nothing out of place ever. I would have been on labeling.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
If you had to carry heavy things, I'd fall apart. But the labeling, no, no, that would have been for me. Okay. Yeah. You?
Probably the packing. I think I could have done a really good job at packing. So, put me on the packing job.
Good team. Okay, so from there, they have to drive to the Korean Veterans Memorial Bridge in Nashville. Emily and Molly stop at a gas station to get directions. Great. They don't have a map. This is the first time it seems they don't have a map. Cool.
And do you feel like they did that because they're in the U.S. and they feel like, okay, right, because it's like now you could just follow the roads. You can actually speak the language and speak to the people. So, okay.
You could have spoke the language the whole time. There wasn't a single time. It's fine. No, it's good. I'm up. I'm loving this. It's a pet peeve.
They were in some Spanish-speaking countries. They were speaking French.
Ish. Okay.
Ish. But a lot in a lot of European countries, the international language is English.
Yes,
so
that's true.
But there were languages.
We got to get the race to go back to Asia. And we got to get the race to go back to places where they don't speak a lot of English. Okay, anyway, fine. So Emily and Molly go to a gas station. Derek and Claire go to the same gas station. Now, Michelle is in third place at this point because her labels were a bit messy. But that's fine. Everyone's staying upbeat about it. Emily and Molly and Derek and Claire get directions. And by the time Lewis and Michelle get to that gas station, they're still there, but they're about to leave. Here is my biggest gripe about this episode. If the other two teams are leaving,
so why don't you just follow them?
Assume they've gotten the directions. Lewis and Michelle get out of their car and they get their own directions, and then they start driving. Why? What are you doing? I know you don't want to be without directions. I get that, but this is the end. You do not waste 5 minutes or 10 minutes getting directions and then getting back, and just follow them. I don't understand. It's like not New York City. You're not going to lose them. It's Nashville. Like, just keep up.
Do you feel like, two questions. Do you feel like they were told that they have to get directions and they can't follow? Okay. Do you feel like they wanted to not be in the final leg and feel like they're just following people?
Don't care. I think that I don't think you're ever told you have to get directions. No one's ever told, like, no. And I think they did it because they were like, what if we lose them? Then we're not going to know where we're going.
Well, listen, Lewis should have put his pedal to the metal. Yes. Now, mind you, I do think if Marcus and Michael were here, I think that they would have just followed along and they would have just hoped that they got on foot and they would have just, ran past Emily and Molly. Because that's what they said, not, But listen, I don't got nothing bad to say about Lewis or Michelle, so continue, but not too much on Team Miami.
Fine, I get it. It's just it didn't actually cost them anything because they got to the bridge second because Emily and Molly, say it with me, got lost. So I guess if they were following Emily and Molly, maybe they would have had a problem. So okay, fine. I take it back. I take it back.
Listen. What if Derek and Claire zoomed off and they follow Emily and Molly? Then what would have happened? But listen, at least one thing about Emily and Molly, they're consistent. Okay, they are they consistently surprise us at how effing good they are at random ass challenges that like either Emily is surprised at or Molly is surprised at, and
they surprise each other because they didn't know what they could do.
And then
fine, you're right.
They always go get lost or get turned around.
Well, then they should know. Lewis and Michelle should know to only follow Derek and Claire because Emily and Molly are consistently getting lost. Long lost twins. And so now they should. Well, anyway, it didn't matter because Emily and Molly got lost. So Derek and Claire get there first. Lewis and Michelle get there second, right after Derek and Claire. Emily and Molly, they correct very quickly is the other thing about them. They get lost, but they fix it fast. And so they get there third. So what they have to do at the bridge is they have to climb 300 feet up. It's like a domed bridge, kind of like the Sydney Harbor Bridge, where they have to climb out around the outside of the bridge to the top 300 feet over the Cumberland River to get their next clue. Now, sitting at the top of the bridge is a random guitar case. Let's just remember that, okay? So Derek does this one. He flies up the bridge. He's like Spider-Man on a rope flying up the bridge. He says it's very hard, but he's happy it's very hard because that means the other two are going to have a real problem with it. Agreed. That's great. So he flies. He gets to the top. He sees this guitar case and he's like, where's the clue box? Opens the guitar case and inside are some picks. That's your clue. You take the pick. He closes the case and he rappels down. Now, Michelle has to do this roadblock because they were uneven. And so it says Michelle must do this roadblock. She's trying to climb the bridge as opposed to climb the rope. I'm screaming at my television.
Well, listen, when you are married to a Lewis, okay,
you would have climbed the bridge.
you know, so I don't blame Michelle. When you're married to a Lewis, you think you gotta, so.
But she did a great job climbing the bridge, and it just took way, way longer. And about halfway up, I think she realized, oh, I can use the rope. And then she starts to go much, much faster. Now, Emily with the knee also has to do this roadblock.
I'm so confused. Like, why did they, like when we were in Iceland and she had to climb the thing, I'm like, okay, but.
I don't know. They did it unevenly. I don't know. We saved our last roadblock for Scott in case it was something really, really physical. I don't know. So anyway, she has to do this one. She is a rock climber. I would have loved to have seen what she could do if her knee wasn't messed up because she started after Michelle, but got to the top before Michelle because Michelle's climbing the bridge and she's climbing the rope. So she gets to the top first. Michelle gets to the top very shortly thereafter. Emily sees the guitar pick and, doesn't see it right away, but then sees it, takes the pick out and starts to rappel. Michelle gets to the top and she's like, where's the clue? Doesn't see the guitar case. There's a guitar case. Like, I mean, I get it. Look, I have been the victim of race blinders many, many times. It's very easy when they show you on TV where your clue is, but everyone pretty much had a problem finding it. And then I was like, oh, what about this random guitar case? So Michelle pulls it out. She nails the rappelling down. Lewis is screaming and cheering for her, which is so nice because at this point, the other two teams have just left and they're in third. And some people might have been like, angry or negative, and they never are. They are just so in love and so wonderful and big fans. So I'm yelling, hurry up, you can beat Emily and Molly. Not that I don't, I love Emily and Molly.
Right, but like, you're just rooting for everybody.
Right, I'm like, I want it to be as close as humanly. I want them all at the final task at the same time so we can see it's not a matter of editing. That's what I'm rooting for here. And so anyway, this guitar pick says Gibson Garage on it, which is in Nashville, and it's a guitar store. So Derek and Claire get there first. They stop a pedestrian to get directions. Emily and Molly are lost. And then sorry. I love them. I say it with love. And then Lewis and Michelle get there actually second because Emily and Molly got lost. So the cool thing about what happens here is they've done it a few times. They did it on my season. Ernie and Cindy, who won season 19, live in Chicago. And on my season, they appeared to give us one of our clues. Here, you have Jen and Caroline, who were country singers who live in Nashville. And they were on seasons 22 and 24, and they're sitting in the Gibson garage, and they give everybody their clue. Now, what I like about this is, I don't know if everyone knew who they were. I would like to think they did. Michelle walks in and is like, I know you. So Jen and Caroline had this cute little, like, we're going to win the Amazing Race, like little hook thing that they sang. Michelle sings it to them. Like, they're hugging. I'm like, you're wasting time. You're wasting time. But they're fangirling a little bit, which is cute.
We're
So
gonna win the Amazing Race.
Exactly.
Hey, we're gonna win the Amazing Race. Hey, my name is Brooke Camhi, and I won it. My name is Brooke Camhi, and I won it. We're gonna win the Amazing Race. We're gonna win the Amazing Race. Hey,
Whoop,
hey,
yeah.
we gonna win. Okay, sorry.
We could do this for days.
Listen.
You're gonna have to re-record that. That's your ringtone. Okay, so what they have to do here is they have to take 3 guitars. They have to take 2 acoustic guitars and 1 electric guitar, put them in these guitar cases, and take them to 3 locations down Broadway in Nashville and drop them off to get their next clue. Now, this is my favorite part of the episode because Derek and Claire run out of Gibson Garage, and Claire is screaming like a banshee, like, Derek, it's to the right, it's right. And he's like, it's left. And she's like, it's right. And he's like, it's left. And so they go left. It's left. It's left. It's fine.
To the left. Everything you own and the guitar case to the left.
Right. So they go and they drop off their first guitar as Louis and Michelle are leaving, as Emily and Molly are getting there. So it's sort of just staggered. Claire is hilarious. As they're running down the streets, Derek's like, every tourist in the United States is in Nashville on Broadway drunk right now at this very moment. And so Claire's like, excuse me, pardon me, cowboy, let us through. Like, she's like loud and hilarious. And so as they drop off their second one, Louis and Michelle are dropping off their first one as Emily and Molly are leaving the Gibson Garage. What's funny to me is Louis and Michelle, for all of their fangirling, he goes, what's an acoustic and what's an electric guitar? It was hard to mess up because there were the right number of guitars on the wall, so you could see the ratio of 2 to 1, so you would know which it is. But like an electric guitar, I mean, okay, fine. So
we're gonna bless his heart. We're gonna bless his heart.
Yeah. So Emily and Molly got lost on the way to the garage. And I think they might be out, but I shouldn't count them out because I know at this point, never count Emily and Molly out. So I'm not counting them out. Claire, while they're running, is like, I'm not a runner. Now, I think Claire and I are, you know how you're like to Emily and Molly, you might be the third twin. I think Claire and I are kindred spirits because I too am not a runner. Mm-hmm. And if you watch my season, you heard me say that, I don't know, 6 gazillion times. Right. So Claire's like, and she's struggling. And Derek, they had this exact moment that we had where he's like, it's for $1 million. You want $1 million, right? And like, there's something about telling someone it's for $1 million that puts a little pep in their step. So she starts to move it. You don't hear her say again, unless they just don't show it. She doesn't say again that she's not a runner. So they start to move. So Louis and Michelle do the smartest thing, I think, during this. They start playing smart. So I'm going to give them a lot of credit for this because I learned to do this partway through the race. And this is what you do. If you just start yelling out loud where you're going, like, I'm looking for Tootsies, like someone will point you in the right direction because that way you don't stop and you don't have to get directions and you don't have to have them sign a release. And you just got to get pointed in the right direction. So I remember being on a bike in Vietnam, in like rural Vietnam, and huffing and being like, I don't remember the name of the river we were going, but I was like, river, to like wherever, and people on going on their mopeds or whatnot were like, and then you didn't have to stop them because they were never on camera. So good for you, Louis and Michelle, just screaming where you need to go. And they got pointed in the right direction. So Derek and Claire finished first, and they have to go to the Municipal Auditorium. Derek goes, how do you spell municipal? He's like typing in someone's, they're just very heartwarming and cute. Louis and Michelle finished second, not far behind. And then Emily and Molly are still going, so they're finishing third. I love this final task. I think it could have been a little bit. No, I love this final task.
Yes.
So yeah, love it. I'm getting chills. So what happens when they get to municipal? How do you say municipal?
How you say it?
When they get to the Municipal Auditorium, there is a symphony. And this symphony is playing the Amazing Race theme song. And Phil gives the overview that says, it's the most known piece of music from our show. And the final task is a memory task, which is cool. It is There's a piano keyboard, like from the movie Big, that huge keyboard. It's like half of it. It's like 48
Tom
keys
Hanks.
or something. Like 48 keys. And each key corresponds to a picture that comes up on this huge screen when you press on it with your foot. So they have all of these keys, and they have to they have to find the keys that correspond to something that happened on each of the 11 legs of their race until this point. And they have 11 seconds to press them all in the right order. And if they do, then the symphony will start to play and they get their next clue. Now, Derek, I feel like, has an advantage because he, like me, can play the Amazing Race theme song on the piano. Can I? Yes, I can. Did it matter here? No, it didn't, because the notes to your clues did not correspond to the actual Amazing Race theme song. Had it done that, I think he would have been done in an instant. So the good part about knowing music and reading music and playing the piano is Derek can go, okay, so this one is F, this is C sharp, this is this, and he's remembering the notes as opposed to where they are on this huge thing on the floor, which is way easier because just remembering a series of 11 notes is much more simple. Now, playing them in 11 seconds, not simple. So Derek and Claire had a bit of a lead where they were able to go through each key and see and get their answers. And then their struggle was really getting it done in the 11 seconds. So Lewis and Michelle come in after that, and they're like, we are not musical people. And that's okay. They're not. They're dancers. They can keep the beat, but they're not musical. Electric versus acoustic. They're not musical people, but that's fine. They're lovely people. The thing that they don't realize is that a piano has white keys and black keys. The black keys also had pictures. So they're going through all of the white keys, and then they're like, ooh, wait, these have pictures too. So, So, yeah.
Yeah, I was getting a little like, I was screaming at this point because, I love everybody, but I'm Team Miami. I was like, how can Lewis relate this to like fire?
Right. It wasn't like how hard you could do it. There was no muscling your way through this. It was just finessing your way through it. So Emily and Molly show up third, but in true Emily and Molly fashion, they're good at everything. And so they start figuring out what numbers go where and what clues go, what not very quickly. And so it does, however, look like Derek and Claire have a lot of time before anybody else gets there. So editing a little bit unless they figure out, because of Derek's musical ability, what keys are where very fast.
Right.
So, okay. So I will say that Michelle comes in and she's like, my memory is great. Ask me anything. I've studied everything. And I believe it because they're like, we took rock climbing classes and stick shift driving and kayaking, paddleboarding. They did all these things right before the race.
And on the last episode when they were underwater in Iceland, you saw how Michelle was just swimming by and remembering it. So yes. I trust Michelle's.
So all of their advantage for her memory is sort of lost on the fact that they're at a bit of a disadvantage because they're not musicians. So I think that the other reason Derek and Claire had such an advantage was because they started when nobody else was there. Right. Now the three pianos were, around the symphony. And so when somebody's playing a note, somebody else can hear it if another team is there. And so that makes it a little bit more difficult. And when Derek and Claire were there by themselves, there was nobody else distracting them. So as we watch them do this, you see all the graphics coming up on the screen. Derek and Claire now realize they thought they had them wrong. And they're like, no, we don't have them wrong. There's only 11 seconds. So now all the teams realize you only have 1 second per keystroke. And so Derek and Claire get it first. The music swells, the symphony plays, they get their clue. And I will say, in a moment of just lovely people, Lewis and Michelle are like, that's a great job, guys. Great job. Good on you. But they don't stop. They know they're not out of it, but they do take a second. They watch the symphony play and they cheer for Derek and Claire as they know that this is the last clue and the go clue. And it's not going to be them.
Because that, again, that's, now don't get me wrong, an Amazing Race, I like a little cutthroat. I like a little, but I always feel like for the 4 seasons that I've watched consecutively with you, during this portion of it, when the other team gets it, I kind of, that sadness kind of sort of sets in. But it was really good to see the sportsmanship in Team Miami and everyone, honestly. But yeah.
I don't think they showed Emily and Molly, but I'm sure they were just as Emily and Molly. However, it seemed like they got it a minute later. So Emily and Molly get it. The music swells, the symphony plays, they get their clue, and they start to run because Emily's having a real hard time running at this point. And that, they did phenomenally. And then Lewis and Michelle are still there. They come in third, but they get it. They stay positive and they start running to, where is it? The Ryman building, which is part of where the Grand Ole Opry used to be. And that's where the finish line is. So they have to run up the stairs to the stage. All of the teams almost. Rex isn't there. He actually tested positive for COVID, so he was back in the hotel. I don't know if Tim was there. Their whole team was probably in the hotel. Everyone else was there cheering them on. Derek and Claire finish first, and they're told 23 days, 8 countries, 16 cities. They're the official winners of the Amazing Race. They do something very funny. If you remember, Will and James get engaged on the finish line, and so Phil goes, "What's next for you guys? This is a great, start for your life." And Derek goes, "Well," and goes to reach into his pocket. And Claire starts cracking up. She goes, "I packed the bag. There's no ring in the bag. Everybody calm down." Very funny. And then Emily and Michelle run in second. It turns out they were 14 minutes behind. So that was the margin, the winning margin. They're so happy they found each other. They give a little heart to the camera. Everyone's cheering for everybody. They're just thrilled that they got to do the whole thing together. And this is the start of their life together too. And then 16 minutes after that, so it was just 30 minutes between the teams from start to finish. You have Lewis and Michelle who run in. They're still so happy. They're so proud they did this. I think both of these second and third place teams are a shoo-in to come back. And it's a very positive ending. Everybody loves everybody. Everybody cheers. The lights go down, the race is over, and we wait for season 35.
I mean, again, honestly, probably my favorite season that we have watched together. And it makes me exciting to say that, they'd be a shoo-in, because I've never seen an all-star Amazing Race.
They like to do a lot of, I actually think, I don't know, Abby and Will didn't get that much airtime, but they've done ones where, people were eliminated by no fault of their own, right? Like a bad cab got you, or COVID got you, or something. But then there's also, fan favorite ones. And I feel like both Emily and Molly and Lewis and Michelle were very beloved by fans. And I think I think if there is another returnee season that's not all winners, do all winners. But if there's not one, then I think they're likely to return.
Yes.
If they want to. I can't imagine.
Can you imagine if they did all winners? Oh my God, who would I cover Amazing Race? Oh, you know what? I know who I will cover Amazing Race with.
Still me.
I mean, if you couldn't, but we would get access. But if you were unavailable because you was doing the race or whatever, Lewis.
You replace me, and I swear I will. No, Lewis will be fun to watch. It's fine. But don't replace.
That's only if you couldn't. But yes, we're speaking into existence. Brooke Camhi is coming back on the Amazing Race. Maybe. And also, I'll be reading in the comments. No, and everyone, when I told you about on Groupon for Black Friday, I got my stick shift classes. They're like, Brice is preparing for the Amazing Race. No, I just am. After watching the Amazing Race, I always feel like I talk a lot. I don't talk a lot of ish, but I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I actually want to know if I could well, we know Mama Cam High is watching, but I just want to know if I could ride the other stick shift. But this really has been such an amazing season. It's been so much fun. And I feel like after every season, because you're an Amazing Race winner, you garner more friends. Well, everybody know you. But I feel like each season it's so much, I've met Ryan, I've met Lulu Lala. And in this season, I heart Lewis and Michelle, Derek and Claire. So I'm really excited. And again, make sure you guys, if you haven't, Brooke and I have interviews with the final 3. Go back and listen or watch on YouTube of our interview with Lewis and Michelle, Molly and Emily, with the winners, Derek and Claire. We've got Glenda and Lumumba.
Oh my God, my brain.
And we have Quentin and Maddie.
Thank you. Oh my God, I love that one.
And I'm so excited for our Brice and Wynn Presents, the finale of season 43 of Survivor. I'm so excited that Quentin and Maddie are going to be there, and awesome. Derek and Claire are going to be there. So I'm going to try to keep it cool because I just think that, they're just so amazing. So, and I also saw they had the finale party in... was Miami, and the photos look so amazing. Emily and Molly, and I think it was Molly's daughter, and they did or it might be Emily. I think Emily's daughter. They did a little TikTok of them getting ready. I was like, yes! Yes.
I really liked them. I'm so sad I couldn't go. My stupid broken foot was still in the boot until that day. And so it wasn't going to happen that I was going to fly. But I'm going to be down in Florida next month. And we've already made plans to.
I'm a little jealous. When are you going to Florida next month?
We'll talk offline.
Okay. Cool. Because I'm trying to figure out a birthday trip. Oh my God. Brooke, how fun with that? Okay. Anyway. All right. And of course I'm going because I love Brooke and I just want to hang out with Brooke. I mean, that is a reason.
That is a reason, right? I mean, I don't expect it to be the reason. I mean, I've known you many years at this point, and I know that Lewis sort of like jumped over me in like the friend lineup, but I would like to think it's a reason.
No, it's the reason. Lewis.
This has been a real pleasure doing this whole thing with you.
But no, this was really, really amazing. I love covering. I love covering Amazing Race with you. I really get excited for Amazing Race now. And yeah, it was a good time. I was in Florida for Hearts of Reality, and I got to see Will and James, which is like I feel like I met them like 3 times before, but it was just a lot of Amazing Race, a lot of Circle people. So yeah, it's a good time. I'm sad that this season is over, but I feel like you said, Amazing Race will be back before we know it.
Yes, 35, which ends in Philadelphia.
And so we have the exclusive here because I have in the production. But before we go, Brooke, if people get Brooke high, I don't know what the word is, fever or missing, or if they get the Brooke high chills because they haven't seen Brooke, where can the people follow you?
If you go through withdrawal because you haven't seen
withdrawal. The chills.
I don't know that that's ever happened to anybody. It's on Facebook, it's my name. On Instagram, it's at the real Brooke Camhi. I'm sometimes on Twitter. I don't really know how to tweet. But say hi, come check it out. Brice and I get to see, we put pictures up, and hopefully we'll put some pictures up in Florida when you're so excited to go just to see me and nobody else and only me. Right.
No one else.
As always, this is like a highlight for me. I cannot wait to do the next season with you. And if there is ever a winter season, I'm still covering it with you because that's just what happens.
We'll put it in the contract. Mm-hmm. We'll put it in the contract.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh my God. I don't know how I'll react to seeing you on the screen, Brooke.
I think you have to worry about it, honestly, but we shall see. You never know.
Well, we're speaking it into existence, but this has been amazing. This has been your Amazing Race season 34 coverage with Brooke Camhi and me on your pit stop. We will see you next season.
Bye.
It's the Purple Pants. It's the Purple Pants. It's the Purple Pants podcast. You better get your headphones and listen up quick. Ooh. It's the Purple Pants podcast. You better listen in public, might make your stomach hurt. Ooh. It's the Purple Pants podcast. You're trying to unwind, you better get that box wine. It's the Purple Pants podcast. You're trying to get your snack, you better hurry right back though. It's the Purple Pants. It's the Purple Pants.